Hello, book lovers. Welcome to day 3 of 30, where I share my top 30 books of all time in honor of my 30th birthday. Today, we'll be talking about another series, and that is going to be the Inheritance Trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. I do have the bind-up, which includes the entire trilogy, as well as one of the 2 short story collections that go along with this series. N.K. Jemisin is definitely one of my top fantasy authors. I am someone who doesn't often pick up high fantasy because I find it very intimidating. However, I have picked up a couple of her series so far and am continuing to make my way through her backlog because I absolutely want to read everything that she puts out. I'm definitely not alone in being a fan of N.K. Jemisin, despite her books being very intense in the world building and very political and having a lot of characters. She has a way of writing that makes it very easy to consume her books. And I'm saying that as a inexperienced fantasy girly. In this book, we are living in a world where the gods had gone to war. There were 3 gods who had created everything in the universe and everything on planet Earth, and they went to war. One of them died, one of them came to rule, and one of them became imprisoned. The 3rd god that was imprisoned is imprisoned by a very powerful family that works for this 3rd god, and they gain a lot of power by having this god be imprisoned, as well as some of the children of this god. In the first book, we are following a woman whose mother had been part of this family, but had left so that she could marry a man that she loved who was part of a poor nation. However, at the beginning of this book, this young woman's grandfather calls upon her to come to the family home, and there he tells her that she needs to battle against her 2 other cousins to see who will rule the family next. Now, she has no interest in doing this, and also she did not grow up in this cutthroat court that her cousins did, so she feels like, I'm gonna die. Essentially, she's like, great, you brought me here to die. That's really nice. However, she ends up meeting this imprisoned god as well as some of his children, and she teams up with them where they will help her win the throne, even though they're not a royal family. And in exchange, she will help them gain their freedom. And so starts a huge world-altering plot. So in each book, we are following different characters. There are definitely some characters that we recognize, especially since we're dealing with gods and godlings, and they don't really die. However, each book is taking place years and years and years after the previous book. And so we are getting a huge expanse of time, and we just see how much humanity can change, how much the way humans view gods, the way that they view certain powers changes, the relationships between characters changes, the relationship between gods changes. It is such an interesting book. I absolutely was fascinated with the world that N.K. Jemisin wrote. In my opinion, I think each book got better and better. This was her debut series, and you could really see her growing as an author as she continued with this series. The 3rd book was definitely probably my favorite. It followed this very interesting character that was very complex, very likable yet unlikable, and the ending, the way she ended this series, absolutely had me in tears. Honestly, if a book can have me crying, chances are it'll go ahead and find its way onto my top list of books. If you have not tried N.K. Jemisin, then I definitely urge you to do so. All the hype that is around her stories is definitely worth it. I do think that you should start with this trilogy. I accidentally started with her Blood Dream duology, is that what it's called, or Dream Blood duology, because I thought that was her debut novel, but this is her debut novel, and I think it is a great place to start with N.K. Jemisin, as well as with maybe your high fantasy journey. Let me know what you thought of N.K. Jemisin's Inheritance trilogy, and I will go ahead and see you tomorrow with the next book.